extraordinary measure. If love and peace you treasure, and you and me when I say, oh, the love in me, all the love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Yeah. Keep on lying for your people. Y'all say, keep on serving and going to roll. Oh, now. So long, when I never try again. The last time I ever oversaid. So coming out over there, but people try. Till I do the right one.
Hey everybody, we're back. It's 2025, but I'm going to talk about some more things from 2024 first. I did my favorite albums of 2024. I wanted to talk about my favorite reissues of this past year because there were some really big ones for me, some really important albums to me that were reissued. And I also want to talk about my favorite used finds of the year. Finds, acquisitions, pickups, whatever you want to call them. The Sad Bastard vinyl tag that I started, I tried my best to start that at a time of the year that seemed out of place. You know, that I really kind of wished I had done it in the summer, but actually there was a summer vinyl tag, so maybe not. But I tried to do it in a spot where it seemed kind of out of the blue and wouldn't cross over with any of the stuff that usually happens at the beginning of the year. And then lo and behold, Edwin, Pretty Green Vinyl Guy, posts his tag like the first week of December, which, hey guys, I don't care about that. And any of you guys that are losing your mind over that, come on, get a fucking life, guys. It's so sad. It's so sad how so many people were really upset about that. Who fucking cares? You know? The only thing that I didn't like about it was that it was like, I knew that all these other videos were going to come out about people's year-end favorites and everything, and it was going to feel like just like content overload or whatever. So that also brings me to the Sad Bastard Vinyl tag. Thank you to anybody that responded to that. I expected maybe like 4 people at the most to respond, and I was kind of surprised how it actually kept going. I got a big kick out of it. It was just kind of like a self-deprecating thing for myself. And then just to have a little bit of fun. There's still some that I have to watch. I got behind during the holidays. I'm behind on a lot of my usual YouTube viewing. And so there's some videos that I still need to watch. And you'll know I watch because I will respond and let you know. And I'm going to get through all of those, I promise. I'm glad that you're all learning how much sad shit you listen to. Guys, this is the nature of popular music. It's a lot of fucking heartbreak and pain in this stuff that we listen to. So the last thing I'll say is I am going to do the 2025 vinyl tag, Edwin's version of it. I'm going to do the Americana vinyl tag started by Sam, and I'm going to do the Funk and Soul vinyl tag started by my good buddy John. Speaking of John, I recently had a conversation with him. We just kind of hung out and talked about some music, and I'm going to be editing that and posting that at some point. I want to have more of those types of conversations with people this year. I have some folks in mind, even just some people in my life that don't have anything to do with any of this stuff. So I'm kind of hoping to get some of those done this year. All right, some of my favorite finds, acquisitions, pickups this year, purchases from 2024. We're talking about used records now. There was definitely one Candy Staten record on Fame that I was missing, that I really wanted, and it was this self-titled one. This is her third record on Fame Records. I have the two that come before this. This popped up at Angry Mom, but I reached out to Dom and I asked if he could help me procure it. And we squared up, and I made the arrangement, and I'm really happy to have this one in the collection. Earlier in the year, I made a video about my frustration with Carolina Soul Auctions, and that got a little controversial in the comments. But there were a couple of finds from this year, a couple of purchases through those auctions that I was really, really, really happy about, and so I wanted to mention those. This one, Kafunta by P.P. Arnold, the American expatriate, I guess, soul singer who recorded for, this is on Immediate Records. I'm a big fan of P.P. Arnold, always kind of have been, ever since I, years and years ago, first heard the first cut is the deepest, the Cat Stevens song that she recorded. And then the second one that I found, and was very pleased with the deal that I got on this for something that's pretty collectible, and it's Fruit Tree, the complete recorded works of Nick Drake. This is a reissued set of all of his records, but it was put out by Island, and it's all analog, you know, it comes on these Island labels. And I only had Nick Drake reissues that kind of came out in the 2010s. But to get all of these in this format, even though, you know, you don't have the original album covers, I can live with that. It's really cool to have in this box. Here are a few records that I found at Noble Records this year that I want to talk about. And guys, listen, when I say my favorite finds, that doesn't mean that they're all like expensive collectible stuff. You know, I got this for 25 bucks. The Bluegrass album. This is I've been looking for, there's volumes of the Bluegrass album band. And this is the Bluegrass album. J.D. Crowe, Tony Rice, Doyle Lawson, Bobby Hicks, Todd Phillips. You know, I'm reading off the cover there. You can read off the cover too. I'm always looking for these, and I've just never really come across them. So yeah, I don't know if somebody sold a really cool Bluegrass collection to Dylan or something, but yeah, it was exciting to find this, and super clean, first pressing from the early 80s. All right, so this year was Noble Records' 5th anniversary, and he had kind of like a big day celebrating that on a Saturday with a cool drop of some really fantastic albums. And this one was on the wall, and I got it without too much trouble. Inspiration Information by Shuggy Otis. Fantastic blues, funk, R&B, Shuggy Otis. I can't remember what dig it was, but I found this one in the first part of the year. Crossings by Herbie Hancock. And the reason why I'm talking about this one is it's one that I've always wanted. I like this era of Herbie Hancock, but it was one that I'd never really given a ton of attention to. And then I spun this when I got home, and I just had like a spiritual moment listening to this album. It just knocked me back. I wasn't prepared, I don't think, for how much I enjoyed this. It's so epic sounding. It's amazing. And I already liked Sextant a lot, but then when I heard this, to me, it's just so much better. So this was one that I have a small ECM want list. And then I came across this one at Lunchbox for around $20. Julian Priester, Pepo and Toto, is how you say it. Love, with, you know, or a lot of members of the Mwandishi session band, and not Herbie Hancock. And this is a brilliant album. And then that same day that I was in Lunchbox, he had a copy of Mwandishi on the wall, but it was like $60. I didn't want to pay that much for it. But then I was talking to Scott at Lunchbox about how much I had been enjoying Crossings, and I'm super stoked to find that album. He's like, I never see them in the wild, but he's like, you ought to check out these 2 Eddie Henderson records that were put out on Capricorn. You don't really think of like out there funky jazz or whatever really on like Capricorn, at least I don't. I found this one online from a seller. I was buying another album off of them and noticed that this was in their store, and so I grabbed it. Great deal. I mean, I think it was like around $35 or something. Yeah, it's the Mwandishi band. It's just a Eddie Henderson record. It's great stuff. Here's kind of a random one. There's a seller on Discogs when I go to him for periodically, like once or twice a year, I'll check out his store online. He has a lot of krautrock, and a lot of them German pressings. I picked up this one, Fire, Water, Earth, and Air by Jane. It's from 76, maybe? Can't remember the exact year, but it's a German pressing on Brain. And this album is incredible. You know, it's not like Can, or it's not like Noi or anything. It's more, it's closer to kind of more just like rock and roll. There's some Pink Floyd-esque moments on here, I think. So then also me and the family went out to the Pacific Northwest this summer, to visit my sister who lives in Portland. And while I was there, Mazzy and Kimbo made their way down from Seattle to hang out with me, which I was just absolutely thrilled about. You know, Mazzy and I have talked about meeting up for years, and I really can't thank those two enough for driving down. I made a video about that dig and about that my trip there, but I want to recap 3 albums that I picked up. The first one, I did not expect to come across this at all. Clube da Esquina 2. I have volume 1, but I have a reissue of it, although it's a fantastic import Brazilian reissue. Yeah, this is original pressing. I found it at Too Many Records. This one I got off the wall at Little Axe. I'm not the biggest psych head in the world, but there are a few that I have a good amount of reverence for, and this is one of them. This is Side Trips by the Kaleidoscope. And yeah, I was just really thrilled to find this, a super clean copy. The song Please just knocks me out every single time. It's like a weirder version of the Byrds or something. And then this one, which I found at was Tomorrow Records, I believe. I already forgot the name, but first pressing, incredible condition of Verses by Mission of Burma. All right, the rest of these are all records that I found online, most of them through Discogs. I have no shame in that. I don't care, especially these days when you go to record stores and you find that pretty much these guys are all pricing based on median anyway. All of these I got at median or under. I don't think that anybody is better than anybody else because they just shop in record stores or whatever. It's who cares, you know? So I made a short want list of records that I wanted to get this year, and I got all of them except for 3. Some of these are very typical records. Some of them I had reissues of already, but I wanted to find first pressings or at least early pressings of them. All right, the first one that I'm going to talk about is The Only Ones. The debut, The Whole of the Law, is on my favorite Yo La Tengo album, and it's one of my favorite Yo La Tengo songs. I, eventually, learned that it was a cover of this song, and so I've always been on the lookout for this record. I mean, for, 15 years probably, and I just never see it. Peter Parrott is the main singer, songwriter, frontman of The Only Ones, and this band is great. This album is great. They cover a lot of ground. They mine a lot of areas that a lot of other bands around this time didn't quite. They kind of bleed over into power pop in a way, but it's, you know, post punk. It's they a very original sound. The Only Ones debut record. So these are two records, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wish that I had bought them years ago. But I had reissues, and so I always just kind of thought, well, I'm happy with that or whatever. But I finally pulled the trigger on it and found a really clean copy for a great deal online on Discogs. And it's Surfer Rosa by the Pixies. Just always wanted a first pressing. And while I was at it, I ended up grabbing Come On Pilgrim. This one's not as pricey. You can still get it fairly affordable online. The mini album from 1987, their proper debut. So kind of in that same world, I picked up Earthquake Glue by Guided by Voices. It's from 2003? Later period record by Guided by Voices. Of course, not the original lineup, but Robert Pollard was cranking out just great songs around this time period. I love this album. And this is not a first press. It's the 1995 press. The 94 original press came with a 7-inch. You know, it's one of my all-time favorite albums. It's a top 10 record for me. Crooked Rain by Pavement. My favorite album from 1994. Sorry I never got around to making that video. Maybe I still will, but there you go. Spoiler. And finally, after many years, a 1990 pressing of Shake Your Moneymaker by the Black Crowes. I love the Black Crowes. What can I say? And this is always one that I've wanted, and I've never been happy with any of the reissues of it. Okay, and then this one is the real treat yourself moment from 2024 for me. I ended up getting an early pressing of the Pharaohs, The Awakening. When did this come out? 71, something like that. It's not technically the first pressing, but they had a couple of pressings in the same year. Yeah, I mean, I paid for this one, but a more than fair deal. Made an offer. Couldn't be happier. Thank you to that seller for accepting that offer. I spun this one so many times this year. Fantastic soul funk R&B with a little bit of jazz in there. Some ties to out of Chicago, some ties to the Earth, Wind, and Fire family. Okay, and then I mean really quickly, we're gonna go through the reissues that I was the most excited about this year. Finally, somebody put out an incredible reissue of Afro Harping by Dorothy Ashby. Constantly stalking this one online to try and find it for a good price. Almost impossible. This was, of course, released by Vinyl Me Please in a box set, a cadet box set. This is not that record. But this is another reissue by Universal. It sounds fantastic. As much of a jazz novice as I do still consider myself, I have been a Donald Byrd fan for many years. One of the first real artists that I ever really kind of like committed a lot of time to. I was really happy about this one coming out on vinyl in the 10 Poet series, Kofi. This was sessions that were recorded in 69 and 70. One before Electric Bird and one after Electric Bird. But in that time period, kind of fills in some gaps, a mix of kind of soul jazz and post bop and, the kind of funk fusion stuff that he would get into that I love. When I Pretend to Fall by the Long Winters. From 2003, this has always been kind of like a sleeper favorite of mine from the 2000s, and I've always wanted it on vinyl. It never had a vinyl pressing before, so I was super excited. Actually, no, it did have a vinyl pressing, I think, but it was just really expensive. So I was glad that they reissued it. The Long Winters, When I Pretend to Fall. This is also a record that I wish I had gotten back when it was a a little bit more affordable. It came out at in a time when I wasn't buying vinyl, at least not a lot of vinyl. I definitely wasn't buying new vinyl at the time. But it's now been reissued, and I hope that they continue with the rest of the series. It's Isabel Campbell and Mark Lanegan, Ballad of the Broken Seas. Of course, Mark Lanegan is one of my favorite vocalists of all time. Big fan of Isabel Campbell too, and I love these duet records. These next two I got from Superior Viaduct. One of them had been out for a little while, but I bundled it with this other one that was a pre-order. And they finally showed up like right before Christmas. I haven't even cracked the seal on them yet. This is Tonics and Twisted Chasers by Guided by Voices. This was a album that they only released for like a fan club or something. And when did this come out? 96? In 1996. Original pressings of this are crazy expensive. Okay, and then this last one I saw Alex talk about on his YouTube channel some years ago. This was back when he was still Motoric 24/7. Now he's Diamond Marimba. And yeah, you know, he was doing Alex things. He was talking about a bunch of weird records, but then he talked about this one, might have even played a sample of it, and I was super intrigued, listened to it online, and fell in love with it. Roberto Cacciapaglia, thanks how you say it, Se Note in Logica. I'm just a dumb redneck, guys. I don't know. It means 6 notes. This is modern classical, which is an oxymoron, isn't it? But we use that term. You know, I believe it was originally released in 1979. And I could really hear, when I listened to it, I could really hear like some things that like Jim O'Rourke would go on to do. And I could even hear how this might have influenced some electronic artists. I do want to mention that Soul Coughing announced a reissue of Ruby Vroom, which I pre-ordered. It has still yet to ship. The last update that I received said it would come out sometime in January. Still haven't heard anything. I'm excited about that one. That's another favorite of mine from 1994. So is this one. And I had this on vinyl before, but I sold it because it sounded like absolute shit. My Life by Iris DeMent. One of my favorite records from 1994. One of my favorite kind of country folk Americana records of all time. Just a big one for me, this album. I go back with it many, many years, at least 25 years, if not longer. And last but not least, another all-time favorite of mine from the 90s, What I Deserve by Kelly Willis. This is actually the first time it's ever been put out on vinyl. Yeah, one of my all-time favorite country, alt-country, whatever you want to call her, records from 1999. I will talk about this one at length another time. But yeah, really happy that that got a anniversary release, 25th anniversary release. All right, that's it. Like I said, going to be making some tag videos. They're going to come. And they'll come when I feel like it. So, screw you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your comments, but screw you guys. Also want to say, I know that I am a little bit slow to respond to comments these days. It's kind of something that I've been getting slower at. And part of it is I just don't make the effort to respond right away. You know, I always felt like, oh, I got to respond right away. And I just don't feel like that anymore, guys, because honestly, life happens. And I'd rather not be, I already kind of am, but I'd rather not be so bad about just constantly being on my phone and, no, Sam and Ez, leave me alone. I got to respond to these YouTube comments. You know, I don't want to be like that. So I will get around to responding. I always do. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope your 2025 is off to a good start. I'm going to be doing some more of this than I normally do this year, I think, just to kind of keep myself distracted. We'll see you in the next video. All right, bye.
Digital gramophone makes no sense.